Let's go. So, when it comes to dating, I've always been given the advice that after a few dates, it's really good to go on a date where two people are experiencing something for the first time together. So no one has the hierarchy or the power, or can play the role of the mentor of sorts. So at a coffee shop with my boyfriend at the time, we had been dating for a while. His real name was Fernando, but for the sake of the story, we'll just call him Zach. So we're studying what to do in the paper that weekend, and it turns out that there's a performance of Star Wars that's happening, like a live performance, and it mentions that it's happening at a church down in the South Barrio of Tucson, Arizona, which is where we were living at the time in graduate school. And I thought it was one of those really cool avant-garde theater things, or Arcade Fire plays at the Unitarian Church. This is going to be really interesting and artistic. And we were both in art school, so it just seemed like the place to be. So we decided that we're going to go to this live performance of Star Wars that's happening at an evangelical church in South Tucson. So we drive down, and it's in the middle of nowhere. It's very dark. It's Saturday night, 8:30, and you can sort of see the church approaching from the distance with this big white cross that's sort of welcoming us in to the parking lot, which is filled with cars. So we pull in and are escorted to our seats, and everybody there is very friendly and very nice. And the church on the inside is the biggest church I've ever been in my entire life. I mean, St. Patrick's Cathedral doesn't have anything on this place, because it's not only has seating down below, but it has a whole, it's an arena, basically. And so we get escorted to this, the wheelchair section, and there's other people sitting with us, and we recognize a few random people from art school that were like, yeah, you have that idea too, cool. What are we in for? Who knows? So we're sitting down, the lights go dark, and Star Wars begins. And the music comes on, and the lights, and the sounds, and everything is as it seems from the original movie of Star Wars. And it is like someone from Hollywood has flown in and dropped down $2 million to this church and said, here, we'll put on Star Wars for you, because there were pyrotechnics, there was full-on costumes, the cantina scene, the bar scene, was like the cantina scene in Star Wars, everybody's real instruments, the full-on costumes, and we're actually enjoying ourselves, and then there's the scene where Yoda appears, and out rolls on this conveyor belt an animatronic version of Yoda that's sort of coming out of steam, and it's this rubber doll that's sort of Luke, and we're like, what is going on? Everybody's sort of enjoying themselves, and I'm like, this is great. And then the plot line sort of strays a little bit toward halfway through Star Wars, and at one moment it's decided that Luke shouldn't use the Force because it's pagan, and then Buddha comes out and is sitting with Yoda in a diaper, and Luke's very confused, and it's like, Luke needs to find Jesus, not use the Force. And there's a woman sitting 2 rows in front of me that's like, Luke needs to find Jesus! And then other people start like, yes, Luke, find Jesus! And then the crowd starts holding their hands up in the air and swaying like we're on a boat. And there's no music. It's just the power of Luke Skywalker finding Jesus that is bringing this entire evangelical church to a swaying motion. And I start looking at Zach, and he starts looking at me, and we're like, okay, this is turned. maybe not to the dark side, but to a different side of things. And he tugs on my sleeve at one point. He's like, I think we need to get out of here. I was like, no, I gotta see the end, I gotta see what's gonna happen to Luke. I wanna see Jesus. I wanna see him come down from the sky, or the rafters. And I start realizing that the people that are sitting in my section, there's an older gentleman with a walker. There's a woman who's with her younger sister, it seems like, who has Down syndrome, and they're starting to be escorted to this particular aisle off the side of the stage. He's like, we need to get out of here. I was like, what? He's like, they're going to try to save you. I was like, oh God. I'm in a wheelchair. I am paralyzed. I got to think about this for a moment, because I've had thoughts of walking, and I'm a big believer that someday there will be a cure for paralysis. It might not happen in my lifetime, but I am a big believer. But it wasn't going to happen by Luke Skywalker in the Barrio District, South Tucson, in front of a bunch of strangers. So we start to exit, and it's like, don't make eye contact, because it's just us and the believers. So we get right to the edge, and we're about to go to the parking lot, and one of the others is like, oh, you need to stay, don't you want to stay? And I was like, I'm sorry, I was so excited I just wet my pants. She's like, oh, you go take care of that, I'm sure. You need to go take care of that. And so I had this sort of epiphany when we finally got to the parking lot. We're beelining it out like as quick as we can. We see these other people that are trying to get to their cars very quickly because they had the sort of same idea about this place that we did, that it was going to be fun and funky and kind of artsy, and no, it was not. So we're getting out of the parking lot, we're driving away, and I'm like, okay, I wasn't saved by Jesus, I wasn't saved by Luke Skywalker, but I was saved by the stigmatization of bladder incontinence with my paralysis. Thank you very much. And to this day, I am proud to still be seated, because who knows? That cure might come someday, but it sure as hell isn't coming from Luke Skywalker.